And this is the last part of the Christmas Island set. It's number 6. After a very full week of bird and crab watching on Christmas Island, I was ready for a rest. We'd caught and banded wild seabirds, hunted for goshawks, and marvelled at the graceful frigate birds. We had narrowly missed serious injury from menacing crustaceans, escaped the virulent yellow crazy ants, and just avoided loss of sight inflicted by the blind your eye freshwater mangrove. We had gasped, open-mouthed at the beauty of the forest orchids, been staggered by the sheer majesty of the gigantic rainforest trees, and we had felt so unutterably saddened by the sight of the last, yes, the very bloody last forest skink. Perhaps it was this last creature, the sole remaining member of his species, that most impressed upon me the tragedy of extinction. Anyway, the week had been exciting and full of learning for Mary and I, and now we were off to Cocos, Keeling for a rest. Cocos is a further hour and 30 minutes into the Indian Ocean and must be the most remote Australian territory, except maybe parts of Antarctica, I'm not sure. To put it in perspective, it's about halfway between Perth and Colombo in Sri Lanka. Cocos Keeling Islands could not be less like Christmas Island. Where Christmas is high and mountainous, Cocos is flat and very low-lying. Where Christmas is a volcanic oceanic island, Cocos is a coral atoll of a few dozen small sandy islets. Almost all of Cocos is less than 3 meters above sea level. That's 10 feet in old money and barely enough freeboard to keep afloat. There are the remains of a World War II gun emplacement on the highest point at 13.6 meters, but that's not the only spot of any height. It's generally thought that by the end of the century, the atoll will have disappeared beneath waves of the Indian Ocean. Indeed, a recent high tide completely swamped the runway, leaving the island isolated for a considerable period. Incidentally, the golf club shares its 5th hole with the airstrip, and games are held up for a few minutes when a plane is landing or taking off. Only 2 of the 24 islets are inhabited by a population of approximately 600. The majority of residents are Cocos Malays, who are Muslims. We stayed in a modest motel which had seen better days, but was perfectly adequate. On the first evening, Mary suggested we go and find the nearest watering hole for some social contact and a cold beer. We were pleasantly surprised to find just such a place that served ice-cold Melbourne beer. I now know that Mary was softening me up for some unwelcome news. My hope of 4 days' rest on this most idyllic of tropic islands was shattered when Mary broke some news to me. Skeldo, I've arranged a couple of activities while we are here, she explained. Mary, no, I complained, no more activities. I'm an old man and I can't keep doing this stuff at my age. So it was that next morning we embarked on a glass-bottomed boat trip that involved morning tea on the tiniest islet you have ever seen. It is known as Prison Island, though I don't think it would have been much hardship doing time there. We had the pleasure of swimming with green sea turtles in the blue waters of the lagoon that is encircled by the islets. After tea and biscuits, we set sail again, and the skipper pulled out a toilet brush. Everyone wondered what it was for, and I quipped that I preferred to use tissue paper. No one laughed. Well, it turned out that the local reef sharks enjoy having their backs scratched with the toilet brush, and dozens of them showed up for the treat. Mary's next masterstroke was to organize a canoe trip from the main island around the southern islets of the atoll. Much as I felt this to be overdoing it, I really enjoyed the day out. For a start, the canoes were powered by 3 horsepower outboards, or maybe 8 horsepower. I'm a bit out of my depth here. Our holiday learning experience had come to an end. It was a moderately active adventure that most people could tackle, and I would do it again in an instant. These 2 astonishing islands out in the Indian Ocean are quite unlike anything you will experience anywhere. Thank you for letting me share the fun with you. And let me once more give an unashamed plug to Lisa and Karen and the tour company Island Explorers. You'll find them at www.islandexplorer.com.au. And thanks for listening.